astrology forecast for the week of February 19th, 2020. Ooh, wow, what stuff is happening this week? It's a mishmash, and we have a double change happening on February 16th, that's Sunday, that is likely to play out over the course of the next couple of days. And that is, we had Mercury stationing to go retrograde in Pisces. Confusions abound. And we have Mars entering the sign of Capricorn, where he's usually considered to be like in his best possible behavior, because the Capricornian energy, that Saturnian Capricorn energy, channels Mars's more erratic warrior sort of vibe. Unfortunately, though, this time around, Mars is out of bounds until March 18th, so he'll be spending virtually his entire stay until March 30th in Capricorn, out of bounds, where he's more likely to be extra impulsive, extra erratic, extra. And so we start this week with Mercury fogging out the information, getting wires crossed, sort of, I was thinking, like, Mercury in Pisces retrograde is a little bit like a battery, or just, wires getting wet, like the battery runs low, or the wires get wet, or something goes wrong, things fizzle out that way. So communication and information likely to be off. At the same time, we have Mars just, ready to start climbing through Capricorn at top speed. So we have some really sort of dangerous potentials here for folks going off half-cocked. That's kind of the way I would look at it. You don't have the right information, but damn, you're going to act on it. Now, there's something happening this week that is pretty extraordinary, and it's going to be the case for about 10 days a month for the next few months. And that is that we have all of the planets tightly bunched between Capricorn and Taurus. Actually, right now, between early Capricorn and early Taurus. And so there's a concentration of energy. On Monday, as the moon goes through the end of Sagittarius, it's almost like the door is closing. And once it gets into Capricorn, early Tuesday, then it's like, okay, everything is all bunched together. The planets are all together, sort of doing their thing. It's a crucible. It's this pressure situation. And as the pressure increases, then we get the urge to and the need to respond to that. You have to let the pressure off in some way or another. Mars in Capricorn is an action planet, and there's going to be a lot of action. So I would say Monday things are very up in the air. From Tuesday onwards, we have a real heavy pressure situation, especially while the moon is in Capricorn, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This is a time when there's likely to be a lot of responsibilities, a certain heaviness about things. Again, a pressure. You got to do something. And it is not a good time to sit still. Once again, we have the deer in the headlights kind of situation. You don't want to sit still when the pressure builds. You don't want to act foolishly or stupidly or anything like that, but you don't want to fail to act as well. Happily, Mars is coming up to a trine to Uranus, and although Mars is out of bounds, and although Uranus is definitely a sort of erratic kind of energy, this is the potential to push things in a new direction. And that's true of work, it's true of social things, it's true of political stuff, it is true of our personal relationships. It's the opportunity to push something in a new direction. You're not exactly sure what's going to happen after you push it. You think you're rolling it down this side of the hill, but who really knows what's going to happen? But it's an opportunity to get things moving in a different direction. And that aspect is exact on Friday. I would think Thursday, Friday, you'll really be feeling that. So there's a pressure to make a decision, there's a pressure to make a move, and there's an opportunity to do so as well. So, as much as you could sort of overreact to things, as much as you could sort of feel yourself really under the gun, as it were, there is an opportunity to get things moving, especially towards the end of the week. Push things in a new direction. Okay, so Monday, erratic kind of thing. You're not quite sure what's going on. Mercury just stationed retrograde. Not quite sure what's happening with Mars. Keep a lookout to see what's happening, but I would say that's a day to just sort of try to get through stuff best as you can. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pressures on. Friday, Saturday. I'll tell you the truth. The aspects that are exact on Friday and Saturday include the Mars, Uranus, and also a Sun sextile to Uranus, because the Sun will have gone into Pisces late on Tuesday, early Wednesday. And so the weekend has some kind of good energy about it that looks like it might be sort of fun and all. If we weren't waning into the new moon on Sunday, I would say it would be a real good time. As it is, I mean, it may be a little bit more subdued than you'd like, but it also offers a little bit of space, a little bit of ease around things that might be kind of welcome at that point in time. Again, though, it's not a sitting back type of energy. It is a where do we want to go? So we want to avoid this week going off half-cocked. We want to avoid going off on misinformation. We don't want a Dr. Strangelove kind of scenario happening over here. We don't want things to go to an extreme based on misinformation or disinformation. But on the other hand, we also recognize that we are under pressure. We do need to make changes, and we do have the opportunity for some constructive changes. And that especially put them into action towards the end of the week. Because we're at the end of the lunar cycle, and actually the Mars-Uranus trine is a closing trine, it is much easier and much more inclination to let things go and release things than it is to start something new. Now that's okay too. There'll be times for starting new endeavors in the near future, but I would say that this might have more to do with letting go that stuff that isn't working. And then we have that new moon in Pisces on Sunday, and the sense of that is it is a good time to step back, and it was a good time to, let's say, for example, recommit to your meditation practice or any other sort of spiritual practice that you have. It's almost certainly a time to step back a little bit. The pressure will start to come off after the moon leaves the sun on Sunday, and although it's still going to go ahead and hit Uranus, and in the following week there's still a lot of that high energy, it's going to begin to dissipate a little bit after Sunday, or actually maybe even after Saturday. We'll feel some of the pressure coming off. It is definitely a week where we need to be as mindful as possible of what's going on, and we need to be aware of the fact that even if you've got your stuff together, a lot of other folks are going to be going off the rails. You'll probably find that a lot of social, political things like that are really getting under your skin this week, and probably for good reason. Be aware of it and try not to get too sucked up in it. Again, I mean, this is a time for action, but, on the other hand, you don't want to knock yourself into a complete state of frenzy over things that you have only a certain amount of control. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the U.S. presidential race. It'd be interesting to see what happens with the coronavirus. But of course, in both cases, especially with the coronavirus, interesting sounds a little bit cold because so much is at stake. And, that's the thing. When you have a lot at stake and when you're really afraid of things, this is when things can get really a little bit out of hand. Again, it might be the case that we let things get out of hand based on misinformation. Mercury retrograde in Pisces. Do not underestimate. And we will talk again next week. Don't underestimate that either.